Hello, hello. My name is Karen Pippen, and I'm very grateful that you're here at my channel. This year, well, this month, we've been commemorating Black History. And one of our previous recordings, we did give tribute to the father of gospel music. And if you know who the father of gospel music is or don't know who it is and you missed that video, you're going to want to go back and check that out, okay? But today I'm excited because we're going to be giving tribute to the King of Ragtime. That's right, King of Ragtime music. And if you give me 1 second, I do have some slides for you. So let's get those pulled up and we will get going. Let's see, let me share my screen. There we go. All right, there we go. Now can you tell me, or do you know, who the King of Ragtime music is? All right, let me do this. Give you time to guess. All right. Now, if you said Scott Joplin, then you are correct. Scott Joplin is the father of, well, not the father of, let me get it right, the king of ragtime music. Now, Scott Joplin, he was born in November 24th of 1868, which was just about 3 years after the Emancipation Proclamation was signed. So he was born just outside of slavery. And he was born in Arkansas, Texarkana, Arkansas, and which is where his family was. And they were all railroad workers. That was hard to say, railroad workers there in Texarkana, Arkansas. And as he began to grow up, he developed his own musical knowledge. He loved music, and particularly the piano. So he began to just get help from some of the local teachers there in Texarkana, and he developed his love for piano. But also while in Texarkana, he formed a vocal quartet, and also he taught mandolin, which is another stringed instrument, and also guitar. So he could play several different instruments, but his love began to point to piano. Now, when Scott turned about 16 years old, he left his job as a railroad laborer, and so he traveled around the South, just playing his music. He traveled around as a musician, and people absolutely loved his music. And so when the World's Fair came to Chicago in 1893, he went there and he played, he made sure that his music began to be known there. And it was because he went to the World Fair that it began to become a national craze, because it was something very different. And people were wondering, wait a minute, what is this music? It's not, they were used to hearing the European music or classical music, or even like local folk music. And it didn't even fit in the spiritual music, which most African Americans were really into. So they were wondering, what is this music? So it would always have perfect timing, just regular timing, like classical music, but it had it had a syncopation to the rhythm. So it did keep time, but there was such a syncopation to it. They called it raggedy or ragged first, ragged music. And so eventually it was developed into the name ragtime. So that's where the name came from, ragtime music. So Scott Joplin, he did move up to Sedalia, Missouri. And that's where after getting there, he decided he would go off to college. Now, this is a picture of Scott Joplin, and this is a picture of George R. Smith College, where he attended there in Missouri. This is a historically Black college. But sadly, after he left the college, it burned. So that college burned and it's no longer there. It did consolidate with another school there, Black College, a historically Black college that's located in Little Rock, Arkansas, Philander Smith College. But yeah, he did attend college in Missouri and he spent time there. And I believe later in his life, he moved to St. Louis. But while living in Sedalia, Missouri, he was a piano teacher there. And while there, he taught several other ragtime composers who they kind of helped spread the beautiful music all across the country. So, but one awesome thing happened. He, back in what was 1895, he published one of his pieces. It's called Maple Leaf Rag. He published that piece, and that's something not too many African Americans had done at that time, publishing music. So he did get to get that piece published, and this is the cover right here. It's called Maple Leaf Rag, and this brought him fame. Okay, he was locally getting, you know, the attention, but when after the publication and the music was all over the country, and this brought him fame. And this piece also brought him in some steady income. And it lasted for several years there, that he did have the steady income for several years. But he did later have some financial problems. But after moving from Sedalia, he moved to St. Louis, where he continued to compose. And he also published other pieces of music. If you see, he wrote over 40 original ragtime pieces, and he also composed one ragtime, a full ballet. He did a ballet, and also he wrote 2 operas. Wow. And here you see, this is one of the collections that he wrote, the Wall Street Rag. And what else did he write? He wrote Treemonisha. This is the opera, one of the operas that he wrote. He wrote another opera called A Guest of Honor. But during the times that he was in a bad financial spot, this opera was confiscated. A Guest of Honor, it was confiscated along with some of his other belongings for non-payment of bills. So, and it's never been found again. So unfortunately, that opera was taken away and it's never been recovered. But I tell you what, he moved, he did after that, this is when he wrote Treemonisha after that, and he moved up to New York because he was looking for publishers, not publishers. He was looking for producers, someone to financially produce the opera, which opera costs quite a bit to have a big production, because you have to pay the singers, you have to pay for the venue, and you also have to do props and pay musicians, and then the time of them learning and teaching. So it could be very expensive. And with him being an African American at that time, a lot of things were not available to him, simply because of the color of his skin. And because of that also, it was very hard for him to find producers for the show or for the opera, even in New York, because as I said, with him being African American, some of those investors, they were a little skittish about doing it because he was Black. So it was a no. And so he was very disappointed because he spent lots of time just trying to get someone to get it produced. So what he decided to do was produce it himself, he and his wife at the time. And they didn't do the full show, but it was more like an exhibition for other investors to just come and just try it, check it out. That's all he wanted them to do. And because he still didn't have the funds, he could use only what he had. And he played the music all by himself. And so there was no big band or big orchestra, which is what people were used to seeing. The props were not up to par, and also some of the singers wasn't able to hire some of the best singers. So the production didn't go great, and it was deemed a flop. And so he was very, very disappointed with that. So Treemonisha never went into full production. That was only just some samples that they, did. So that opera, the first one was lost, and the second one never actually went into full production, at least not during his lifetime. So he went into depression, and later he descended into dementia, which was a result of having neurosyphilis. And so he was admitted into the hospital, and he died about 3 months later at the young age of 48. So he died at 48. And he was buried in a pauper's grave that remained unmarked for over 50 years, about 57 years actually. And his grave is here at St. Michael's Cemetery in Elmhurst, New York. It was finally a marker placed on his grave back in 1974, which was the year there was a movie called The Sting that came out, and it won Best Picture at the Oscars. And in this particular movie, his music was featured. Quite a few of his compositions were featured. So that brought attention back to the music and then back to him. And so it was discovered that he didn't even have a grave marker. So you see here, there's a tribute there, the King of Ragtime bench there for Mr. Scott Joplin. All right, so now the music, like I said, after his death and during this movie where the music was, they included a lot of his compositions there. It was returned to popularity. And even one of the albums that was released, it sold over 1 million copies. So that movie, The Sting, did bring back a lot of recognition for him. So in 1976, Scott Joplin was posthumously awarded the Pulitzer Prize for his contributions to the world of music. So there we go. Here's Mr. Scott Joplin, the King of Ragtime. We give you a tribute. Now, if you are interested in starting your own musical journey by way of piano, we would love to have you join us. We do have a link there below the video that's going to offer you a free piano beginner's kit. So please click that link below and start your very own musical journey. Let me get this here. Now, thank you so much for stopping by. Again, thank you for stopping by our channel. Very grateful to see you. And I ask that if you have not, please hit the subscribe button. And that way you won't miss any more or any of our videos. And again, thanks again for coming by. And I hope you have a piano thumping day. See you next time.